Hi everyone.
Hello people. So this is Valdemar.
And this is Veronica.
This is Valdemar.
And this is Veronica.
And
Not the other way around.
And we are double reactions.
We are, indeed.
And today we are watching George Carlin Euphemisms. And I watched, I think, everything George Carlin has ever done. I read his books. I'm a big fan of George Carlin. He is my favorite comedian of all time, and I don't think anyone will ever top him for me. Veronica knows George Carlin too.
Because of you. I haven't known him before. You showed him to me.
Yeah.
And I would say he's probably my favorite too.
Yeah.
He's the smartest one, I'd say, and I like his brand of humor. I like that it's very upfront, but he's not.
He doesn't offend anyone.
Yeah, no one is like the end of the joke. He doesn't offend anyone. Not that there's. He
kind of offends.
Yeah, but in a different way. He offends people not for who they are, but for how they behave, I'd say.
Yeah.
Which is a bit different, and also I like that he's an old bitter man, but in a pleasant way. I think I would like to have dinner with him and talk to him. Yeah.
And he was definitely ahead of his time.
Oh yeah, with the ideas and with things, yeah, and with his mindset as well. I'm saying he's bitter and cynical about a lot of things, but he's also very open-minded, to me at least.
He was saying things in the 90s that weren't mainstream things until 30 years later.
Yeah.
And he already said them then. Yeah, so it was kind of difficult because we wanted to do some reaction on one of his videos, and it was kind of difficult to search and find a video that Veronica hasn't seen, but she said that she doesn't remember seeing that one.
I don't know. There is a chance that I saw an excerpt of it in another compilation video, but I haven't seen this one in full for sure.
Yeah. So that's why we are watching this one, and I hope I will find some more of his clips that we can watch later, because I would like to do some reaction videos on his stand-up in the future. But today we have our first one. It's called Euphemism, as I said. We can begin?
Yeah.
It's worse with every generation. For some reason, it just keeps getting worse. I'll give you an example of that. There's a condition in combat, most people know about it. It's when a fighting person's nervous system has been stressed to its absolute peak and maximum, can't take any more input. The nervous system has either snapped or is about to snap. In the First World War, that condition was called shell shock. Simple, honest, direct language. 2 syllables. Shell shock. Almost sounds like the guns themselves. That was 70 years ago.
I will just make sure. So you didn't watch that one?
No.
All right.
Then a whole generation went by, and the Second World War came along, and the very same combat condition was called battle fatigue. 4 syllables now. Takes a little longer to say. Doesn't seem to hurt as much. Fatigue is a nicer word than shock. Shell shock. Battle fatigue. Then
I love his way with the language. He was a big fan of the English language, and he had a way with words that I think is not seen in any comedic in stand-ups.
Yeah, part
nowadays.
of the art is how he says those words, and yeah, it comes pretty natural to him, I think.
We had the war in Korea in 1950. Madison Avenue was riding high by that time, and the very same combat condition was called operational exhaustion. Hey, we're up to 8 syllables now. And the humanity has been squeezed completely out of the phrase. It's totally sterile now. Operational exhaustion. Sounds like something that might happen to your car.
Well,
then,
robot,
of course, came the war in Vietnam,
which makes sense.
which has only been over for about 16 or 17 years. And thanks to the lies and deceit surrounding that war, I guess it's no surprise that the very same condition was called post-traumatic stress disorder. Still 8 syllables, but we've added a hyphen. And
I'm somewhere on the fence, because the one that we settled on, post-traumatic stress, I feel at least in comparison to shell shock, it doesn't make it so simple. like it gives it a real illness name that sounds very serious and sounds like something that is a mental condition, medical condition that you can cure and that it's not your fault. This is something that like you have, like a medical condition, whereas shell shock just sounds very simple, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And this one like puts all the responsibility away from you, kind of, and not like, okay, this was shell shock, people were shouting over your head, so you're a little bit. But the ones that were in between, like battle fatigue, that's like, that's
true.
going definitely in the wrong direction.
On the other hand, the post-traumatic stress disorder, for me, and like you probably noticed, it's not my first language, but for me it sounds something like a dyslexia, or something like that.
Okay.
That it's like a disorder. It's
something wrong with you as well, maybe. I don't know. But dyslexia isn't also either. I don't know. But for me, it's good that it sounds like a medical condition, as opposed to, which I think is even worse, the battle fatigue or operational exhaustion.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Which is really an euphemism, and it's just like
operational exhaustion was the worst, I think.
Like very dehumanizing.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this is just what happens to these people when we send them to this wars, and they get a bit fatigued with the battle. Yeah.
True.
Pain is completely buried under jargon. Post-traumatic stress disorder. I'll bet you if we'd have still been calling it shell shock, some of those Vietnam veterans might have gotten the attention they needed at the time. I'll bet you that.
I can see that further.
Yeah, and also it's the thing is that we use PTSD
for other things as
for
well.
other things, not only for war-related trauma.
Like car accidents or someone hurts you.
And shell shock doesn't correspond with that because shell is something that is on war, that happens during the war. So
yeah, it's very specific. That's true.
Yeah.
But it didn't happen, and one of the reasons is because we were using that soft language, that language that takes the life out of life, and it is a function of time. It does keep getting worse. Give you another example. Sometime during my life, toilet paper became bathroom tissue. I wasn't notified of this. No one asked me if I agreed with it. It just happened. Toilet paper became bathroom tissue. Sneakers became running shoes. False teeth became dental appliances. Medicine became medication. Information became directory assistance. The dump became the landfill. Car crashes became automobile accidents. Partly cloudy became partly sunny. Motels became...
We are more optimistic now.
Motor lodges. House trailers became mobile homes. Used cars became previously owned transportation. Room service became guest room dining. And constipation became occasional irregularity. When I was a little kid, if I got sick, they wanted me to go to the hospital and see the doctor. Now they want me to go to a health maintenance organization. Or a wellness center to consult a healthcare delivery professional. Poor people used to live in slums. Now the economically disadvantaged occupy substandard housing in the inner cities. And they're broke. They're broke. They don't have a negative cash flow position. They're fucking broke. Because a lot of them were fired. Fired. Management wanted to curtail redundancies in the human resources area. So many people are no longer viable members of the workforce. Smug, greedy, well-fed white people have invented a language to conceal their sins. It's as simple as that. The CIA doesn't kill it.
Yeah, in many ways it feels like George Carlin was the first person to hate white men.
Anybody anymore? They neutralize people. Or they depopulate the area. The government doesn't lie, it engages in disinformation. The Pentagon actually measures nuclear radiation in something they call sunshine units. Israeli murderers are called commandos. Arab commandos are called terrorists. Contra killers are called freedom fighters. Well, if crime fighters fight crime and firefighters fight fire, what do freedom fighters fight? They never mention that part of it to us, do they? Never mention that part of it. And some of this stuff is just silly. We all know that. Like on the airlines, they say they want a pre-board. Well, what the hell is pre-board? What does that mean? To get on before you get on? They say they're going to pre-board those passengers in need of special assistance. Cripples!
Oh, okay, that aged badly.
There's no shame attached to the word cripple that I can find in any dictionary.
Oh, but in his defense, this was some years ago.
No shame attached to it. In fact, it's a word used in Bible translations. Jesus healed the cripples. Doesn't take 7 words to describe that condition. But we don't have any cripples in this country anymore. We have the physically challenged. Is that a grotesque enough evasion for you? How about differently abled? I've heard them called that, differently abled. You can't even call these people handicapped anymore. They'll say, we're not handicapped, we're handy-capable. These poor people have been bullshitted by the system into believing that if you change the name of the condition, somehow you'll change the condition. Well, hey, cousin, doesn't happen. Doesn't happen. We have no more deaf people in this country, hearing impaired. No one's blind anymore, partially sighted or visually impaired. We have no more stupid people. Everybody has a learning disorder. Or he's minimally exceptional. How would you like to be told that about your child? He's minimally exceptional. Oh, thank God for that. Psychologists actually have started calling ugly people those with severe appearance deficits. It's getting so bad that any day now I expect to hear a victim referred to as an unwilling sperm recipient.
But I kind of know what he means. I know that he is using words that are not so popular now, and it's not good to use them. But I think what he means is that you kind of you become desensitized hearing about problems like this, you know?
Yeah, when the words are not so strong.
Being blind, being deaf, being crippled sounds more serious than having a hearing deficiency or a visual
Yeah, and there is
deficiency.
another thing, the way I see it. Like, of course, you should ask people who have these problems how they want to be called, and that's how you should call them. And there's no problem saying, you know, partially sighted if people want that. Sounds good to me. But the phenomenon that there are negative things associated with people who can't hear or with people who can't walk is not because of what they are called. And if we start calling them something else, the prejudice that's in society, I think it's still gonna be there. So then in 10 years, maybe you will use a different, like kids in kindergarten will use a different word to offend someone who, I don't know, is clumsy, which is awful. And it's always been awful, and it's going to be just as awful if you call that person about a word that is considered bad now or a word that is considered good now. And maybe we need to work on that more. Maybe working on language is the first step to work on that, I don't know. But it's the associations that need to change, I think, not just the language.
And we have no more old people in this country. No more old people. We shipped them all away. And we brought in these senior citizens. Isn't that a typically American 20th century phrase? Bloodless, lifeless. No pulse in one of them. A senior citizen. But I've accepted that one. I've come to terms with it. I know it's here to stay. We'll never get rid of it. That's what they're going to be called, so I'll relax on that. But the one I do resist, the one I keep resisting, is when they look at an old guy and they'll say, look at him, Dan. He's 90 years young.
My grandma used to say that.
Imagine the fear of aging that reveals. To not even be able to use the word old to describe someone, to have to use an antonym. And fear of aging is natural, it's universal, isn't it? We all have that. No one wants to get old, no one wants to die, but we do. So we bullshit ourselves. I started bullshitting myself when I got to my 40s. As soon as I was in my 40s, I'd look in the mirror and I'd say, well, I guess I'm getting older. Older sounds a little better than old, doesn't it? Sounds like it might even last a little longer. Bullshit, I'm getting old. And it's okay, because thanks to our fear of death in this country, I won't have to die. I'll pass away.
I really like how direct he is, and he like, because everyone thinks these things, it kind of makes you feel like less alone, because he just goes out there and he says them and he makes fun of it together with you. I like that.
Yeah, but I think that's kind of what Bill Burr does too, you know. He says things that people...
I was having a good experience. Why did you have to bring Bill Burr into this? No, I get what you mean. I do get what you mean. But you can say sorry because I interrupted you.
No, you know what I wanted to say. And they know it too. Don't you? Don't you? I think you paused in the wrong moment because I think it's still the video.
Oh no.
Or no?
Or I'll expire like a magazine subscription. If it happens in the hospital, they'll call it a terminal episode. The insurance company will refer to it as negative patient care outcome.
Oh, wow.
And as a result of malpractice, they'll say it was a therapeutic misadventure. I'm telling you, some of this language makes me want to vomit. Well, maybe not vomit. Makes me want to engage in an involuntary personal protein spill.
Yeah, I like that one. I like him.
And it's always timeless. I think sometimes those things that he says are more... I forgot the word again.
Universal?
No, that they are in this time, you know.
Relevant.
Yeah.
Relevant.
They are more relevant than now. Yeah, so
Okay, thanks for watching.
that was George Carlin, Euphemisms. Thank you again. Please, if you can, thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the notification bell.
Indeed. And you can also leave us a comment, that would be nice. You can leave us suggestions or comments about Carlin or about anything that... Well, you can just do anything that you want. Any comment would be nice.
Thank
See
you
you
very
in
much.
the next video. Bye-bye.
Bye.